Skydive Northwest, which is in the Lake District, and this is where all the skydiving activity takes place. My job here is I'm the PTOCI, it's called Parachute Training Organisation Chief Instructor. So I'm in charge basically of in particular all the safety aspects of the sport, making sure all the staff do their job and all the students are trained correctly. Skydiving, we offer 3 different types of course. Tandem is it's a basic course. What happens is you get your training, which is about 20 minutes. You get briefed in what positions to adopt, and then you fasten to an instructor. We take you to the highest altitude, we jump out the plane, and everything's basically done for you by the instructor.
You're actually hanging on your static line here.
Okay, I've got 2 types of system here. I've got a tandem system and a static line system. First thing I'm going to do is talk about the tandem system itself. This particular piece of equipment, this is my student, is a tandem rig. Okay, there's 2 parachutes in there. We always take 2 parachutes. There's one in the bottom, which is the main parachute, and there's one in the top, which is the reserve parachute. We always carry 2. That is what the instructor will wear. For Katrin here, my student, first thing she will do is put a jumpsuit on, and this is the suit that all tandem students will wear. And once Katrin's got that on, we will then talk about the other pieces of equipment she'll use. In this particular case, because it's a tandem jump, which we've talked about, this is a tandem harness, okay? Very, very strongly constructed harness, if you're interested, type 7 webbing, okay? It's not going to break, and nobody has ever fallen out of one. So I'm going to fit this to Katrin, okay? Once the harness is on, all we need to do is fasten the chest strap, gate, and then you adjust it until it's comfortable, okay? So you can do this, breathe normal, and then we'll just tidy that up a bit later. What we would then do, if we were going to jump, is we'd tighten up the leg straps. These sections here, the side straps, would just hang on to there for now until we get to the aircraft, and I'll explain how she's going to be fitted to myself. It's got 4 attachment points. There's 2 on the top, which are here, and there's 2 at the sides. Basically what's going to happen is I'm going to fasten them on and fasten them onto the top of my harness, and that's how we do this section when we're in, as soon as we sit in the plane. So she's almost ready. The only other thing we have to give her is a hat. Little silly leather hat made of soft leather, so that if the student, which is Katrin here, is swinging her head around, I'm not getting knocked unconscious because it's nice soft leather. Attached to the hat is a pair of goggles. They sit there, we'll just fit that, hang that on the chest strap. When we get to the aeroplane, we'll put the hat on. We don't need to put the goggles down until we're at altitude. And that's her ready to go, apart from the fact that it's coming to winter, so we would supply her with a nice pair of warm gloves. What would happen then, we'd walk to the aeroplane. Once I've got my equipment on, we'd sit in the aeroplane, you sit in front of me, and I'd fasten you up all 4 attachment points before we leave the ground.
Okay.
A static line course, you train for a minimum of 6 hours. You taught positions, aircraft exits, emergency procedures, everything that you need to know to do your first jump. You jump out of the plane, the parachute's opened automatically via what's called a static line, which is attached to the static line strong point. Once the parachute deploys, we then speak to you via a radio, which is in your helmet. Your radio is fitted to the side of the helmet, and you can hear it with either ear, this side or that side, and we give you instructions on how to steer and where you're supposed to land. Moving on to when we spoke this morning about static line, that's this piece of equipment here, okay? And what happens is, Katrin will put this on, got it? Okay, once they're on, same type of thing as with the tandem, fasten your chest strap, exactly the same. Obviously before we go, we tidy all this up, tuck it all out the way, and we want to make sure that the student's comfortable. What we've seen this morning with the students doing the practice arch. So if you can arch for me and let me see that you're comfortable, nothing's digging into you, everything's tidied up, that would be you be almost ready to go. Again, the same situation with the gloves. If it was cold, we'll allow you to wear gloves. And the helmet's different. Students must wear a solid helmet, usually a Protec helmet, and the reason for that is because the students jumping on their own, if they do fall over when they land, you've got to protect them, so it's much safer. So that would go on exactly the same as the little leather hat she had on before, and it clips exactly the same. It's a clip fastening. We don't need to use the goggles because we're not doing any free fall. Once we get out the aeroplane, what will happen when Catherine gets to the aircraft, she would give me this, which is the static line, and what happens is that will be hooked onto the strong point like we've seen inside the aircraft this morning. And when Catherine jumps, when she's given the command to go, as she leaves the aeroplane, the static line will pay out of the elastic bands. It will then pull this thing here, which is, we'll call it, it'll ripcord, it's Teflon coated steel cable. It will pull that out of this little loop, and the backpack will open, out will come the bag, and the parachute will go up and deploy above her. She will have done the emergency count, and then she looks up to check the canopy. So that's the static line system, totally different to the tandem system, but the choice is yours. AFF, accelerated free fall, what happens there is, again, it's a minimum 6 hours training. You go to altitude with 2 instructors, and what we do is we get you in the door, the 2 instructors will hold on to you, we go through the door and they give you some in-air signals on which position they want your body to be in. For instance, straighten your legs, more arch, and things like that. You have a set of 8 levels on your jumps. There's 2 instructors with you for the first 4, then 1 instructor, and on your last 2 skydives, he will let go of you, so you're actually in free fall by yourself. Minimum age 16, and that's with your parents' consent. 18 you can sign for yourself. Maximum age is 40 for the static line and the accelerated free fall course. Tandem, you can be any age as long as you bring a doctor's certificate with a stamp on. The aircraft, this one that I'm sat in here, so it's called a PAC, Pacific Aeronautical Corporation. It's built in New Zealand. Probably you can do 10 jumps a day now because of the likes of this type of airplane, because it's very quick. We go to 14,000 feet for tandem and AFF. Static line, we go to 3,500 feet. 1,000 feet would give you about 50 seconds in free fall. We open the parachute, or your instructor will open the parachute at 5,000 feet above the ground. With the AFF, you'll get over a minute in free fall. We're still opening at 5,000 feet above the ground, but because it's not a tandem, we'll get a bit longer in free fall. So as soon as they land, you'll either carry the equipment back, or if you're with your tandem instructor, he will carry the equipment back closely, making sure that you're still with him. We provide everything else they need as regards to overalls. We provide the helmet, we provide goggles, we provide a pair of gloves, and of course we provide them with 2 parachutes, 2 airworthy parachutes. Everything else is whatever they've got on. We always suggest that they come dressed for cold weather, because we are going to altitude and it starts to get colder. The higher you go, the colder it gets. The location that we choose to jump is determined by the weather on the day, i.e. the wind. We need to know the wind speed, wind direction. For instance, rather than you just use a GPS system, we throw what's called a wind drift indicator, which is 22 feet long, it weighs 3.5 ounces. That's thrown out the aeroplane, and the jump master will determine wherever that lands. He will then use that as a guidance to pick and select his exit point over the ground. Once we reach altitude, the location where we are going to be jumping is the Lake District, and the Lake District views, we can see them all. You've got, for instance, Windermere is not so far towards the north of us. You can see as far as Blackpool, and you can see as far as Barrow in Furness, and on a good day, if the horizontal visibility is good, you can even see the Isle of Man. For the students, the extra provision, extra cost for tandem, for instance, we do a DVD. The cameraman, if you choose to have one, the cameraman comes in the airplane with you. He climbs outside the aircraft on his little step. Once we're in the door, the film's running all the time, and he's taking still photographs. As soon as we leave the airplane, the film continues to run, and he takes a photograph every couple of seconds. Every student that comes along has a series of lectures, which includes a safety brief, what we call a malfunction procedure. So before we let anybody go in the airplane, in particular static line students, they have to assure us that they're capable of coping in the event of, or should I say, an unlikely event of an emergency. Once the student becomes qualified, which is what's known as level 8 in either AFF or static line, as soon as they're qualified, they're then allowed to jump on their own or jump with other people. To get to category 8, there's a minimum amount of jumps. You have to do your static line jumps, your static line pretending to pull a ripcord. We put you on your first free fall, we put you onto 5-second delays, 10-second delays, 20-second delays. Then we introduce an alternate. We teach you to turn in left and right, and then once you do your what's known as a half series, which is a series of manoeuvres on one jump, we qualify your category 8. To contact us, you can go on the website, which is Skydive Northwest. It will tell you all the details of all the courses. You can book online. Everything can be done online. It will tell you how to get here. You'll get a map of how to get here, and we can then give you a list of accommodation. We have accommodation here for the static line student courses, but if you need bed and breakfast, we can give you a list of where to stay, and we can also tell you where the best places are to eat your evening meal and bed and breakfast places. We can sort all that out for you. Okay, thank you very much for watching the DVD, and I'll see you all in the sky.